So, welcome everyone to this month's Graphic Arts Alliance webinar. We're really pleased to be here with Chris Blackburn of Wikoff. And Chris is the Director of Products and Services there, and he'll tell you a little bit more about what he does. But we're really happy to be here with Wikoff. We actually have a really great partnership with Wikoff that we've had for a number of years now, so our members can take advantage of some special incentives through the group. And so, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and he's gonna take us through a presentation of kind of better understanding what's to come with some trends in the ink industry. And Chris, it's all you. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you guys for the opportunity. We appreciate being a part of this. I've got a presentation to go through about achieving color and avoiding some press room performance issues. And we'll just kind of go through a few things. I'm open to any questions, anything that you guys want more detail on. If you see something that you like in this presentation, you'll probably hear me say it a few times. We can do this on site for you in your location and move it into other detail, but just letting you know that ahead of time. Let's see here if I can do all the technology right and get this in for the screen share. Can you guys see that?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So we'll start off with just a little intro to Wikoff. And we're proud to have hit our 70th year this year in a quick rebranding of changing our logo and some things. But we have 24 sites scattered around the US, Canada, Brazil, and England. So we've made it international and have enjoyed a lot of growth and continuing as the employee-owned company. We strive to be a value-added supplier. We want to get involved with all of our customers, help them achieve their goals, and work together to make sure we're meeting your customers' demands. Our portfolio has become very diverse over the past 70 years. We've got inks and coatings for most printing technologies, basically except screen for textiles. We've evolved into Wikoff Graphics, where we have photopolymer plates and the ESCO front end equipment. And through that, we can make coating plates for your sheet fed presses and anything of that nature. So more than just ink, but again, as we try to be a valued supplier, we've got a strong consumables group that we partner with of vendors. So trying to be able to bring a total approach in for you guys. And I lead our technical solutions group, which is a group that goes out of as our field service reps and working with customers on press room problems, or we having performance problems with products. Is there something going on in the way that it's working on your piece of equipment and adjustments we need to make? So we come, excuse me, we come on site to try to help you with that and do anything we can there for you. So we've got a group scattered around the country available to come in. And it also includes our G7 experts, et cetera, to help on any of those needs. But one of the first things I wanted to start with was a key area for any ink company and any printer is in communicating color and defining what are we going to be held accountable to on press. And that kind of communication between the ink company, the printer, and your customer can reduce downtime, can help you deliver the quality product that your customer's expecting. So we've all used for years the physical references of the Pantone books and to go to for color. The PMS book, the key word right there is that it is a guide. and Pantone books vary significantly. Basically, if they were a printer, they would probably be fired by every brand out there for the variation in what they produce in the books, and what we're all using historically as a as a guide for color. So the books, as I just said, have a lot of variation. Here shows an example of a guide and the DE, or the variation spectrally between two different books that are supposed to be the same. So imagine if your customer has one and you have a different, you think you're hitting the target perfectly, they get the work in and say, this is not at all what I expected. So communicating and knowing what we have as the reference is huge. Another example of the variation can be in the sheer age of the books. How much has that one been used and abused? I imagine you guys can walk through any of your press rooms and you will see a variation when you go from location to location or press to press. So these physical references can lead to discrepancy, can lead to some issues between you and the customer and the ink company. So the things I just showed of the Pantone books kind of go with the traditional workflow. Some of these slides here are some that we've gotten from X-Rite, and this shows that if we all started with a physical master standard in the middle, imagine that being the Pantone book. You ask the ink company to match it. They send you a drawdown, and then you print. Every step, we get a little variation. If they have multiple people printing this project for them, or this brand for them, the variation between location to location can be great when it gets out in the marketplace. So you can get this DE variation of 4.5 just in this traditional workflow. What does something like that look like? Say your customer is expecting the Pantone color on the left. Once you do the ink drawdown on the substrate you intend to run on, it's already moved to that. And then once you print it, there's still a little more variability. So how do we help manage the customer's expectations? How do we help keep things more consistent? And that's where, I know everyone's heard of Pantone Live and getting people to use it more in the industry today. Pantone Live is a set of fixed digital standards. So you eliminate the variation of the books that are out there, and you're all going to the same master standard. They also have the dependent libraries, as this slide here shows, of what the color expectation can be on a specific stock. And it helps control expectations. And the fact that the inks are primarily transparent, we're significantly affected by whatever substrate we're using. So when we looked at that error flow in the traditional going to a physical color and a physical standard, then when we go over to the digital library, if we have multiple people doing it, we're all going to the same standard versus sending out chips or looking at books from different printings and things of that nature. Does this make sense to everyone? Is this a common occurrence that we all see? And the other, as I just said, about ink being transparent and the effects of all the different substrates. So the blue here is showing a solid on the same color on just multiple papers. There's quite a variety in holdout of the substrates, of do they have optical brightener, do they not? All of this can affect the visual appearance of a color. We hear all the time, you know, I can go to Sherwin-Williams or Home Depot or Lowe's and they can match any color I want. Why can't you guys? And again, it's back to paint is opaque, inks are transparent, and an ink is heavily influenced by the foundation that it's applied to. So, you know, the image on the left of the blue shows the variation in solids, but the amount of optical brightener or the reflectance of the stop can greatly affect what you see in your process work as well. They will definitely can change the reflectance and the light scattering and how those images look. So I've kind of talked about the physical standards versus digital, and us establishing what is our target on press. What are we all being held accountable to for color? We need to have open communication and define that with your customer and the communication back to us so that we provide you with an ink to be successful. So whoever your ink company is provides you with something to be successful on press. How do we monitor this throughout a run? I'm not going to go into a whole lot of depth on spectrophotometry, but again, we can offer this as an on-site training session and for any of your locations. I'm a simple Southern guy, so I have to put this over, you know, where it's easy. So, and I define LAB values of a color as like a DNA. It is its digital DNA and lets you know where that color is. When we establish an LAB value, the target would be in the center of that sphere. And if you see, we have 4 quadrants and that color could shift in any direction. Most of our customers or your brands want to hold you to a tolerance off of press of a DE of 2.0 to 3.0. When we give you an ink, we try to start with it under 1 so that when you get on press, you have room for movement and variation. But it's critical to, if you're monitoring your run, that you try to stay in the same quadrant. Because as I was saying, your target is the bullseye or the center of this graph. If we have a 2.0 DE on one run that's in the yellow-red quadrant, and then we have a 2.0 DE in the blue-green quadrant on the next run, you've still hit your customer's threshold. But if you put those on a shelf side by side, they're 4 apart, and it stands out like crazy to the consumer and looking at the variation. So understanding how a spectro works, everything for your press crews, for your quality groups, everything is important. And we just try to do it simple of understanding the A and B values of the green apple to the red and the banana to the blueberry. Like I said, for a simple Southern guy, I've got to keep it basic so that I understand it. But there's a lot of ability here to monitor color through your rooms with runs with all the different software and programs that are out there. And we'd be happy to discuss any of those with you or discuss implementing that into your press side QC checks. So we've defined our color target and then what we're going to use to measure it. I was asked to go a little bit into some of the basic troubleshooting. And again, I'm going to do this kind of as a high level overview, and any of this could go into detail in other timeframes or more of what you're seeing out there. So color inconsistency can be caused by a lot of things. It can be us not doing our job, and we didn't QC the batch properly. I mean, we're all human, things happen. But then depending on the job and the layout and how is it running, what is it doing, and the condition of the press, all of those can affect color. We're finding lately on most of the things that we're asked to go and do training on, we're all dealing with a turnover in personnel and a loss of a lot of experience. Everyone is with the retirements that are going on and losing a true pressman and it being replaced by an operator is leading to some pain in different organizations. So we've been asked a lot of times to just go back to printing 101 and discuss the basics with crews and have helped improve quality, get back to reducing some spoilage and some things of that nature. There's no need to overcomplicate it. Let's go back and get to the foundation of what printing's built on and get everyone understanding that basic foundation. And then the buttons they're pushing will make a lot more sense. Excuse me. So one of the main things that everyone deals with is ink and water balance and ink and fountain solution and what is going on press. I mean, if your fountain solution is not compatible with the ink, you can see a lot of the issues that are listed here and the things that could affect you, your overall performance and your quality. You get into too much water, you can lead to rub issues. You can lead to scuffing on a folder and anything of that nature. So taking care of some of the basics can help your finished piece and your finished quality. So fountain solution is key. You know, the water makes and breaks all of us, and how well you monitor that can lead to your success and can affect your spoilage numbers. So creating a best practices for how often you change your fountain solution and refresh it can help with your color consistency. It can help how fast you come back to color after a feeder trip and improve overall performance. So whoever you're working with for your fountain solution, they have a range that they say for your conductivity and your bricks, which is the amount of alcohol sub that's in a solution. If you're monitoring that on a regular basis and it gets to a maximum threshold, rather than continuing to print and deal with issues that may be slowing your performance, take the time for PM and change the water and refresh it, and you'll be back and running and be a lot more consistent. Keeping those water settings to a minimum helps you considerably. This week, I was in an account that was dealing with stripping and the color washing out on several units. And it would happen within 150 sheets of them starting up. But we went back through the basics, as I said earlier, of a 101 and went for lead edge scum. Let's get the water down as low as we can to make the ink scum all the way across the sheet and then bring water back up. What we identified was there was a ton of water in the center of the sheet. And it was very tight on the ends. We adjusted a roller skew to then be able to bring the overall water down. And the problem went away. We went from having it in 150 sheets to running over 50,000 sheets and no issue. So again, back to some of the 101 settings and teaching the basics, and led to better performance. Yeah, as I said about ink water balance, also correct ink film thickness. We've got to make sure that the ink is at the optimum strength. Too weak or too strong can reduce the control the pressman has in ability to hold color and things. So we have to make sure that we're giving you an ink at the proper strength to hit your targets. If we've matched a color, or your company has matched a color for you, and you put it on press and you feel like you're really having to push that ink to hit the customer target, communicate that back to your supplier so that they can see if they can adjust strength and get you back into a window where you can run. Now, let's face it, some colors you can't get strong enough, and some you may have to discuss, does it need to be done in a double bump? Does the graphics allow for 2 hits of that color to give you better control? But communication is key in understanding that for performance. The ink water balance with the develop-on press plates is huge, because those can be sensitive in how the fountain solution removes that emulsion and where it goes. All of that makes maintaining your water even more critical. Temperature plays a huge effect on ink and on your overall performance. This is just a quick chart that shows different things that can happen if we're too hot or if we're too cold, and what it does to tack and water pickup, and if you have an issue with misting and things going on, and as well as dot gain. The water pan nowadays doesn't have to be as cold as it used to with using alcohol subs versus alcohol. So monitoring that and keeping that chilled, though, definitely makes an effect. If your chiller isn't working and you've got your fountain solution at room temperature, you're probably going to have some problems. The basics of packing and pressure. This is just a nice slide that can be a handout in a press room or anything, and just discussing what can happen if you're over or under packed. Most presses nowadays, it's a permanent packing behind the plates. So this is all about the blanket packing and the effects it can have on that. Did a night shift have a slight smash, and they added a couple thousandths extra packing versus changing a blanket. And then you go to put on a job that has a very fine vignette, and it's printing way too full. So cause and effect of solving one problem can lead to something on the next, and just making sure we're aware of what's going on. It can lead you to chasing a lot of things that might not be necessary. And along that lines, you get into the dot gain and the issues that could happen from too much pressure, heat, ink being the wrong tack. Does a person like to add tack reducer when they run versus another operator? And all of that can change your performance, or the way an ink is going to perform. As I said earlier, Wikoff tries to come in and help with color management from our G7 experts to being able to help with your measuring equipment. We work heavily with Teshcon and X-Rite and being able to offer press side training for that and making sure operators understand how does a spectro work and what are the readings telling me. Everything we can to help you produce a consistent sheet makes all of us better. And I can't stress enough that communication is the key in a partnership and making sure that everyone is there for the same goal, and that's to take care of your customer. In today's environment on inks and coatings, regulatory is more important than ever, especially in food packaging and any other areas. We have a strong regulatory team that is constantly monitoring what is going on. They also look at a lot of what's happening in Europe, because a lot of those standards are adopted first and then it makes its way to the US. So we stay in touch with all of that. If you have a customer that needs verification of the printed piece or of some inks, our analytical services, we can provide a lot of testing and information back for you, from GC mass specs to anything of that nature. And or we can point you in the direction of some third parties that are widely used in the industry, and if you need anything verified. So, as I've talked rather quickly, that's a lot of it, and would open it to discussions or anything that you guys would like. But we appreciate the opportunity to do this. I hope I didn't speed through this way too fast, and that we can work with you more on all of this.
Absolutely. Chris, thank you so much. This was really, really informative. And I think, considering all of the changes in, like you mentioned, with staffing that are happening in so many of these production facilities, being able to kind of see some of these troubleshooting areas with ink management and color management is really important. And so I'd like to open it up to the participants today. If you do have any questions, feel free to just unmute yourself. We have a good sized group today that you can just unmute and ask your question if anything comes up. So we'll take a minute to give anyone a minute pause to ask a question.
Yeah, Chris, this is Terry. How is the color control still staying the same, even if people are getting into like the GMI programs and that for some of these specialty clients out there, like the Nestle's and all of them? I mean, is it still the foundation is the foundation, and it's just is there tighter controls? Is there a difference, or is it still the basics is the basics?
It's pretty much still the basics are the basics. I mean, a lot of the GMI standards that you receive are from Pantone Light. A lot of those LAV values are the same. Some have been adjusted for specific colors for a customer, but most of that is still the same. And if you're going for Nestle compliance, the low migration products that you need to run and things of that nature, kind of limits our toolbox of what we can use within raw materials within a formulation. But as far as on press performance, you shouldn't see much of a difference.
Great. Thanks, Terry. Good question. Anyone else have any questions? It's a great opportunity since, this is a rare opportunity for us to have Wikoff here in a webinar. So we'd love if you have any other questions, especially if you're running, some presses, experiencing some ink color challenges. I know this is a thing that comes up a lot with color matching. So certainly feel free to reach out, unmute.
So I was going to say, so one of the other questions I had, Chris, was you mentioned something in the beginning that kind of struck me as odd, and I didn't realize you guys were doing that. You said that you offer other services on the plate or plate making side of that. Like, is that Sorels in that? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, so
And is
we,
that selective in the country or I mean, that's the first time I've heard you guys talk about that. And, I
okay,
don't know.
well,
So I don't.
it,
I mean, when I heard it, I was a little surprised that you guys are. I mean, I could understand why, but I mean, it's just interesting, and I just didn't know like where's it at. How does it work? I mean, is it kind of centrally like to the Midwest, the West Coast, or is it here in the East Coast?
so we have Wikoff Graphics is located in Milwaukee. It's in our Milwaukee facility. We have the ESCO front end equipment. We have the processors and things, and it is a photopolymer plate. It is an Asahi photopolymer plate. We can do it with bars or without, and we would do a calibration run or a qualification run to determine the distortion value for your equipment and things, and then we can turn that. Typically, I think we can turn those plates in 48 hours for unbarred, a little longer if it's got to be barred. But
Okay.
it is a service that we've started offering over the last, I'm going to say last 3 years. So shame on our sales force. And I know your local ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, again, I appreciate that. I mean, it'd be curious, and I'd like to know more about it, just because we've struggled with that time to time. As people have consolidated, there's not very many people out there doing it, and we're kind of limited as to where we can go for them and the length of time it takes.
Okay. We can definitely have a conversation, and we can send some trial plates and look at the fit and see where we go from there.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any other questions out there before we wrap up for the day? So just a reminder that we do have a program with Wikoff. Our members can take advantage of our Inc. program with Wikoff, which offers incentives, quarterly incentives. So if you're not currently using Wikoff, I definitely encourage you to have someone on their team come and talk to you a little bit about what they're offering and maybe do some trials for you. We definitely, like I said, we've had a great relationship with Wikoff for many years. So last chance for questions before we wrap it up for the day. Great. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. This has been really informative and we really appreciate this. We will have this available to our members if you did want to go back and catch any of the details. We will put this up into the member portal for replay. And everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day. Chris, again, thank you so much for joining us.
Again, thank you for the opportunity. And like I said, if anyone wants more information or wants to dive deeper in some subjects, we'll be happy to.
Great. Thank you so much. Everyone, take care. Chris, thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.